So recently my wife and I went on a cruise, and as you may or may not know, a cruise is kind of like an airplane in that you can't take firearms. And I'd say that the security requirements as far as the things that are prohibited pretty much mirror. There are some allowances for knives and things like that, but it's still very restrictive. Also, most people who go on cruises are going to end up going to various ports, most often outside the country. And there's some things we want to think about for our own personal security and safety when we're doing that. This is some of the stuff that I brought with me on the cruise in order to not only be prepared in the event that something happened on the boat, a power outage, some type of outbreak of an illness or something like that, where we were going to be confined to the room more than expected. And then also when we went to each individual port. Each individual port is going to have its own security risk. You can check the Department of State website. I know we were in the Bahamas and it was actually elevated a little bit. Those are the types of things you want to try to plan before you leave. Some of the things I brought a trauma kit, and this is the stuff that pretty much stayed in our stateroom. I had a trauma kit, my ITK plus a little bit extra in there for serious massive trauma in case something should happen. I mean, there's always a chance of violence anytime you have a group of people, so there's no weight requirements or limits for baggage on cruise ships that I'm aware of, so it didn't hurt to have it. And then I also brought another kind of first aid kit that had some burn cream and splinter removers and just little odds and ends, just kind of quality of life to make life a little bit easier for us should something happen. Also brought 2 emergency blankets, one for me and one for her. Again, in the event we got trapped in our room and there was a power outage and it started to get cold, we had a way, in addition to obviously the things already in our room, to help us. And then I brought a Tech Protect bag. This is kind of a Faraday bag designed to put, like say, a cell phone in. It's going to help, or it's going to stop it from transmitting. So if I was going to a port where I had a concern for someone trying to steal my data by skimming my phone or something like that, I can always just put it in this, unless I actually needed the phone, I can pull it out and use it. Also, in the things that we just kind of kept in the room, I had another little bag that contained a flashlight, a headlamp. Power outage on the boat was something I was kind of concerned with. 2 chem lights or glow sticks. I was able to take a 4-inch knife. I just packed it in there, so I had something to use not only as a cutting tool, but in a worst case scenario, I had a self-defense tool that I could at least have on me. Also had a external battery pack for our cell phones. There was cell reception out there. Of course, it's extremely expensive with roaming, but in the event of an emergency, I had something to make sure I always had power for it. I brought a SteriPen. This is used to sterilize water. Again, should the boat lose power or the water become suspect for some reason, I wanted to have a way to make sure I would minimize the chances of me getting sick, my wife getting sick. And then I also brought a set of flex cuffs, just in the event that, again, things got out of hand and I needed them. What we took on the excursions or out into the ports, I packed in a Maxpedition Colossus. It's a foliage and tan, pretty nondescript, and its square shape kind of makes it more look like a camera bag. And I had some camera paraphernalia hanging from it, some lens cleaner, and we're in a tourist spot, so people are going to expect tourists to be carrying stuff like this. And this allowed me to not only have the things that I brought with me, but also as we bought souvenirs and things like that, I had something in there. The things I brought with me, I brought a backtrack GPS. It basically lets you set waypoints and just real easy, real direct, real simple. That way, if we did end up getting off the beaten path, I had a way to get back. And we, you definitely want to be there before that boat pulls out. Sunblock, chapstick, and hand sanitizer. I want to keep clean, particularly when I'm in foreign areas. Depending on what climate you're from, the chapstick's going to really come in handy. I know it did for me. And then, of course, you always want to have some extra sunblock on you. This is the ITS Tactical little mini pocket kind of survival kit. It's got some Kevlar cords, block picks, a saw, a little mini saw blade, a little mini razor knife blade, some handcuff keys, button compass, diamond rod. This is kind of an escape and evasion type thing, and this was in the bottom of my bag. While not a huge threat in the places we were, kidnapping of tourists is something that you do see sometimes, so this would be something should we be illegally or unwantingly detained. Survival whistle with a compass and a thermometer. a lighter, a straw, a filter straw, another flashlight, little baby chem light, and another regular chem light. And then I brought another waterproof bag that if we were on an excursion and things started getting really wet and nasty and I wanted to put my wallet and our cell phones and all that to make absolutely sure they were waterproof, I had that. And then I didn't want to take the knife into these foreign ports because I was unfamiliar on what the actual laws were in those areas as it pertained to carrying knives. But everyone can have keys. So I just took a lanyard and some old random keys that I don't even know what they go to. And this provides me something that should I have, and it just sits in my bag, that should I have to, I have a weapon that I can use to defend myself with if it gets that bad. And then lastly, of course, my wife had her survival kit, which went in my survival kit, which consisted of lip gloss, lip sunscreen, and a brush. So fortunately there was enough room for all of that in there. You want to make sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you. Another thing to consider is when you go into port, most of these ports will have people selling souvenirs and trinkets and handmade goods. You can get walking sticks. That's something you can take back to your room, and now if you're used to using things like that or you're having a level of training, you've now got a tool you can use. I looked at the knives, even at the nice fancy steak restaurant on the ship, the knives are not pointed knives. They're still going to be round-nosed knives. Better than nothing, but if you could bring some type of defensive knife on there, fine. I buy these little, kind of $5 cheap. This was a little more than $5, but the cheaper knives at like gun shows and stuff that I don't mind losing or throwing away. In the event they pull it or take it or whatever, I gotta throw it in a garbage can, whatever, I've got it. Those are some things to consider. Cruise ships are what we would refer to as a non-permissive environment. That's an area that doesn't allow us to have firearms, but someone who thinks just a little bit outside the box and prepares a little bit can still be well prepared to defend themselves and those they love, either on the ship or in the ports. As always, be vigilant, be prepared. Y'all stay safe.